test method for lightweight pieces in aggregates. This method determines the percentage of lightweight pieces in both fine and coarse aggregate. It is done through sink float separation in a heavy liquid of suitable specific gravity. Equipment needed to run the test includes, for weighing fine aggregate, a scale or balance having a capacity of not less than 500 grams, sensitive to 1/10 of a gram. For weighing coarse aggregate, a scale or balance having a capacity of not less than 5,000 grams, sensitive to 1 gram. Containers suitable for drying the aggregate sample, and containers suitable for holding the heavy liquid during the sink float operation. A skimmer, which is a piece of number 50 sieve cloth of suitable size and shape for separating the floating pieces from the heavy liquid. A hot plate or oven. A number 4 and a number 50 sieve. A specific gravity hydrometer or suitable combination of graduated glassware and balance capable of measuring the specific gravity of the liquid within plus or minus 1/100th. The heavy liquid used to separate the lightweight pieces shall consist of one of the following: a solution of zinc chloride in water for a specific gravity up to about 2.0, or a mixture of kerosene with tetrabromoethane proportioned to produce other desired specific gravities. Take precautions when using these chemicals. All except zinc chloride are highly toxic, both by absorption through the skin and by inhalation. They should be used only under a hood, preferably of the downdraft type, or out of doors. Avoid inhalation or contact with the eyes or skin. There is no particular hazard from the fumes of zinc chloride solution, but wear goggles and gloves to prevent contact with the eyes or skin. Samples for test specimens should be secured in accordance with ASTM method D75, sampling aggregates, and then dried to constant weight at a temperature of 230 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 9 degrees. To run the test for lightweight pieces in fine aggregate, obtain a sample that weighs at least 200 grams. After the test sample has been dried to constant weight, let it cool to room temperature, then pass it over a number 50 sieve until less than 1% of the retained material passes the sieve in 1 minute of continuous sieving. Weigh the material coarser than the number 50 sieve to the nearest 1/10 of a gram. Our sample weighs 246.2. Next, bring the material coarser than the number 50 sieve to saturated surface dry condition following the method described in ASTM C128, specific gravity and absorption of fine aggregate. If the absorption is known, prepare the fine aggregate for test by adding to a known weight of dry sand the amount of water it will absorb. Mix it thoroughly and let the sand stand in a covered pan for 30 minutes before use. Using a suitable container, pour the saturated surface dry material into the heavy liquid. The volume of heavy liquid should be at least 3 times the absolute volume of the aggregate. Stir the sample thoroughly to release any lightweight pieces trapped on the bottom. Pour the liquid off into a second container, passing it through the skimmer. Take care that only the floating pieces are poured off with the liquid and that none of the sand falls onto the skimmer. Return the liquid collected in the second container to the first container. After further stirring of the sample, repeat the decanting process. Keep stirring and pouring off the liquid until the specimen is free of floating pieces. For all the heavy liquids except the zinc chloride solution, wash the decanted pieces retained on the skimmer in alcohol, working under a hood or out of doors. When zinc chloride solution is used, wash the pieces in water. After the heavy liquid has been removed, allow the pieces to dry. If other than zinc chloride is used, drying should take place under the hood or out of doors. You may use an oven or hot plate to accelerate drying, provided that it is used under a hood or the oven is force air ventilated and a temperature of 239 degrees Fahrenheit is not exceeded. Brush the dry pieces from the skimmer onto the balance pan and weigh them to the nearest 1/10 of a gram. The weight of the material retained on the skimmer is 9.4 grams. To calculate the percentage of lightweight pieces, divide the dry weight of the decanted pieces, 9.4 grams, by the dry weight of specimen coarser than the number 50 sieve, 246.2 grams. Multiply the total by 100. The percentage of lightweight pieces for this specimen is 3.8. The test for lightweight pieces in coarse aggregate is essentially the same as the test for lightweight pieces in fine aggregate. There are a few differences, however. The size of the test specimen needed for the coarse aggregate test varies with the nominal maximum size of aggregate. As shown here, the minimum weight of the test specimen increases as the nominal maximum size increases. The specimen is first dried to a constant weight and cooled, then sieved over a number 4 sieve. Weigh the material coarser than the number 4 sieve to the nearest 1 gram. Bring the material coarser than the number 4 sieve to saturated surface dry condition using the method described in ASTM method C127, specific gravity and absorption of coarse aggregate. Pour the saturated surface dry material into the heavy liquid. Using the skimmer, remove the pieces that rise to the surface and set them aside. Repeatedly agitate the remaining pieces and remove the floating pieces until no more pieces rise to the surface. Using the same precautions mentioned in the fine aggregate procedure, wash and dry the decanted pieces. Determine the weight of the decanted pieces to the nearest 1 gram. The calculations used to determine the percentage of lightweight pieces in coarse aggregate are the same as the calculations used to determine the percentage of lightweight pieces in fine aggregate.